Welcome to the Silver Screen Podcast. I'm Jared Boomer.
And I'm Katie Gainey West. This is a podcast about movies and pop culture.
And today we are reviewing the new Robert Eggers film based on Dracula, and that is Nosferatu. Came out in theaters over Christmas Day. Great movie to take the whole family to. Very family-friendly film.
Ooh.
So we will be discussing that one today. Definitely, I would say not a movie for everybody. I feel like people are pretty divided. Either you really enjoy this movie or it's just not for you. So
I'll say up front, if we're going to be that black and white, I'll say it's a movie I liked. If I had to pick one, definitely leaning on I was impressed, I enjoyed myself. But I really appreciated that I knew who to go with. Like, I at least had the foresight, I guess. I did go with my dad and my brother and Arjun, but I knew this was not a movie for my sister-in-law or my mom. Not their kind of movie. But I didn't sit directly next to my dad, which was intentional. I think that was good.
What did you guys talk about it after it was over? Because like when it ended in our theater, I noticed everybody just started talking all of a sudden, like all at once.
Oh.
You know, like it seemed like it was getting a lot of discussion pretty quickly on you know, what people thought about it.
People did, but I wouldn't say it was like, it didn't feel like an uproar right after the movie, but there were definitely people that congregated like we did out in the lobby to talk about it.
Yeah.
Do remind me when we talk about A Complete Unknown, though, I definitely had an older gentleman in that theater that was like Bob Dylan's best friend or cousin or something because he was living it up in there. But I will say my dad, sometimes he listens to the podcast, sometimes he doesn't. So I don't want to upset him. He wasn't as impressed with this as he wanted to be. But I think my dad had a pretty high bar going in. And I think we probably left... I agreed with him, but I think I was definitely more impressed with it. But I had not seen the other versions of the movie.
Yeah, I have not either. So obviously, if you have that to compare it to, it may pale in comparison because I've heard some of those older versions are very, very good. You know, especially for the time that they came out. So
and my dad said too, especially the silent film. He said it's great in a different way. Obviously, there's not going to be dialogue and stuff, but he said as far as Orlok being creepy and stuff, he was like they did it. It was probably equally as good this one. But it was they had a different take on what this monster, Dracula, vampire guy would look like.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. So, well, before we talk about Nosferatu, first we have to talk about, of course, some news. And we are going to start our news segment today by talking about It Ends With Us. Now, this movie came out in the summer. It's based on a Colleen Hoover book. It's starring Blake Lively. There's been lots and lots of drama with Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni.
All caps.
Regarding the movie. I've been following it a little bit, but it seems like things have progressed from a talking about it stage to now we're getting legal teams involved and there are, lawsuits and things that are being filed. So it's definitely taken a step up in terms of its like seriousness.
Yeah, Jared, I have not gone down in deep dives about this. If I've read anything about it, it's just been like somebody's TikTok that someone put on Instagram is showing up and I looked at it. But I'm not going out of my way to find information. This is one of the celeb stories that I'm so annoyed by and turned off by that I'm not doing further investigation. I'm just over it. And personally, again, this is my opinion, but it's our podcast. I'm irritated with both parties. I don't really think anyone's in the right. I will always support Blake, like a woman saying, this happened, I was sexually harassed. Sure. I absolutely believe that. I don't even find that difficult to believe about Justin Baldoni. And that other guy, the Jamie guy, the agent, whoever he is, the producer, who cares? I don't care. But I just think that it's making all people look bad. The fact that she timed this for like Christmas time, the fact that they're countersuing, this whole thing is just kind of gross and overplayed. And also, you can do these things without it being publicized. You could countersue, you can sue people, you can take them to court without making sure that publicists and everybody else pick it up.
Yeah, that was kind of my thought with it is like if you wanted to handle this quietly, like so many celebrities do with certain things, then you definitely could. But there's definitely a public aspect to it now. So, and we'll continue to follow it and see what happens. But there's lots of people involved in this now. So,
Yes. I did not put something in our notes I wanted to ask you about, Jared.
Okay.
Have you kept aware of this Hugh Jackman divorce situation?
Not really. Isn't he engaged now? Is
No,
that
he
okay?
no.
Okay.
He and his wife broke up a while ago, and there were
Okay.
rumors. There were substantiated rumors. Is that the right way to say it? There was rumors with evidence that he had cheated on his wife of almost 30 years with Sutton Foster, who was married and a Broadway star, and they had starred in The Music Man together a couple years ago, together on Broadway. And so people said this has been the longest, like, well-known secret on Broadway for years. And
Okay.
so Sutton is getting divorced. Hugh is getting divorced. And they both basically hid for a while. And then just this weekend, like this week, pictures have emerged of them holding hands and they're out and about. And I
Yeah, I
will
see
say,
that here
I'm
on
shocked. Yeah,
there's pictures of them going to dinner.
yes.
So,
And I personally am shocked by this behavior by Hugh Jackman. Like, for real. Because he's one of the people, I mean, he's not Tom Hanks, but he's like kind of in that camp of like known as one of the nicest men in Hollywood, really gracious, family man.
everybody seems to like
Um,
to work with him, you
yeah.
know.
And it
Yeah.
does seem like they purposefully tried to cover this up like, oh, we didn't have an affair. We're just coincidentally getting divorces after longtime marriages at the same time, and now we've emerged as a couple. So I don't like the way they've done this, and I mean, I probably shouldn't judge, but because I don't know them personally, but I'm more than anything just shocked that it's Hugh Jackman. That's the big thing.
Yeah, I kind of am too. That's kind of interesting that
Hmm.
it's, it's him being
Yeah,
involved with this because I like you said he's like one of the good guys of Hollywood. So, it's
yeah.
really interesting that he is involved in this drama right now.
Hmm.
So, another news item is that Zendaya and Tom Holland are engaged. So, congratulations to the both of them.
I'm so excited. Are you excited?
I am. I feel like they've been dating for a while, and
Yeah.
now they're making it official. So,
This is definitely a couple I hardcore stand behind. I really appreciate that they try to stay private. Um, I like that they have always kind of done things their own way. And I think they've both grown up quite a bit in their relationship. I think they've grown together. And even though they're in Hollywood and it's publicized and all that stuff, from my obviously very limited eyes, it seems to me like they are growing in a pretty natural way a couple should grow and stuff before they get married. So good for them. And her ring is
hmm
beautiful.
yeah, and so they're obviously going to be in a few movies together. They're in another Spider-Man movie that's supposed to be coming out in a couple years, and then obviously there's the Christopher Nolan Odyssey movie that they're going to be in together as well. So, and then that'll be
I
a big movie. So,
Yes, I looked that up the other day. That cast is crazy. Like in the
yeah,
best way. It's insane. So anyway, I'm excited about that. Christopher Nolan, he keeps hitting it out of the park. So
he sure does. So, congratulations to the both of them. Also, we have a quick recap of the Golden Globes. We didn't really do a full deep dive on the Golden Globes. Obviously, we're more Oscars heavy on this podcast, but the Golden Globes did happen. Nikki Glazer hosted. I heard good things about her hosting. I didn't watch her whole monologue, but I saw a couple of jokes. And it seemed like she was pretty snappy, some pretty good
mhm.
jokes regarding pop culture type stuff. So, she seemed like she was a good host for the awards, and obviously there was lots of people in various outfits. I did see Jeremy Strong's outfit.
Wow, yeah.
Did you
Wow.
see Anne Hathaway reposted on her
I did.
Instagram?
I did. And it's really funny that happened because just last week, a couple of my coworkers and I watched The Princess Diaries because somebody said they'd never seen it. And we were like, well, we are getting together to start the year off and watched it. So it was hilarious that we had just watched it. And like 2 days later, the Golden Globes, he shows up in that outfit. But I thought that was hilarious. I appreciate he and Coleman Domingo, I think, are two people that, and Eddie Redmayne, make really
hmm
bold fashion choices. I think Jeremy makes fashion choices I don't love, whereas Eddie and Coleman can kind of do no wrong for me. But I appreciate that he commits to it, and he does look good. It's just that for me was a fashion miss personally.
Yeah, that was definitely an interesting outfit for sure. Obviously, he was nominated for The Apprentice, which I still
Hmm.
have not seen.
No.
But it kind of came and went really quick. Like, was in
Right.
theaters for like a week or two, and then it was gone. So
Right.
I think everybody involved with that movie thought it was going to be a little more awardsy buzz, but I don't even
Yeah.
think it's getting much Oscar buzz at all. So
Do you know what I like about what I saw at the Golden Globes? I couldn't watch it either because they don't do like a streaming. They don't make it as widely available as like the Oscars and stuff do now.
yeah.
But I kept watching on like Instagram, like anywhere I could get footage or read some of Nikki Glazer's jokes and stuff I did. But what I like this year that seems so unusual right now compared to previous years is the random people that are getting accolades. I'm very excited about it. But like Demi Moore had never won anything until this award. And then, I mean, Kieran Culkin's been getting pretty popular, but like seeing Sebastian Stan, he's been in Marvel
Mm-hmm.
movies and stuff. Like he gets overlooked all the time because of the kind of movies he's been in. And so it was neat to see him get recognized. And I don't know, it's cool the kind of random people. Whereas in previous years, I feel like it's like a whole cast. It's like the whole cast of Oppenheimer, the whole cast of Barbie, the whole cast of Titanic, everyone's getting praise. So it's neat that it's been a variety and relatively random people.
Yeah, I feel like that's probably going to be the case at the Oscars too, because
Hmm.
there's not really one movie, at least not yet, that has come out as like this force where, like you said, everybody is getting awards from that
Yeah.
particular movie. That's not really been the case so far with this awards season. So it seems like there's performances here and there, like obviously Kieran Culkin for Real Pain is getting a
Hmm.
lot of, wins and nominations. And like you said, Demi Moore is getting a lot of accolades too. So it's going to be interesting for the Academy Awards, especially with the nominations and then actually the awards show to see who gets nominated, because I think you're right. I don't think there's going to be like one movie that's just going to like run away with everything, which is kind of exciting in a way, because that gets kind of
Yeah.
boring when you watch the Oscars and it's like, and winning for best supporting actor is Robert Downey Jr. for Oppenheimer, and
Yeah.
winning for best screenplay is Oppenheimer, and best director, and
It gets so it's the same
you're like,
old.
did any other
Well,
movies come out?
so a couple things that I also thought, I know we're not even at our Oscar episode, but part of me is sad because I already feel like Timothy Chalamet is losing steam. Like I kept thinking they were setting this up like this is it. And
Mm-hmm.
it already sounds like Adrian Brody's going to get the Oscar, but which is
Yeah.
exciting because Adrian, I forgot, was the youngest male to ever get Best Actor. He was 29 when he got it. So it's exciting to see his resurgence. The other thing I was excited about with Adrian Brody, you know who he, at least the last I checked, is dating, is Harvey Weinstein's ex-wife, Georgina
Really?
Chapman. Yes.
Okay.
I know her because I loved her design. She's a designer. She does the brand Marchesa,
Okay.
and her name's Georgina Chapman, and they had two kids together. And she and Adrian Brody got together pretty soon after Harvey, like everything was happening with him. Now, I find it strange that she wouldn't have known this stuff was going on. Maybe she did, maybe she didn't. I don't know. But I was curious to see if she came to the awards with him, and she didn't. He brought his parents. So we'll see. Because I don't know if people would ostracize her just because
Mm-hmm.
of her proximity to Harvey, but she did divorce him.
Yeah.
Anyway, so interesting. It'll be interesting to watch during award season what happens because I'm sure he'll continue to get nominated for stuff. Also, some of the movies this year, just based on the Golden Globes, some I'm very not excited about. Sitting through watching, even if it's at home, there's just some that just don't pique my interest. But there's some I'm really excited about, so we'll see. But the
Yeah,
Golden Globes were a good, and I was surprised by a lot of what happened at the Golden Globes.
I've seen a few so far of the likely best picture nominees. Some I have really liked, some I haven't. That's usually the case every year, but you're right. Some of the more like difficult ones are going to be coming out at some point. Like The Brutalist is like 3.5 hours, and there's some other ones that are more, even this movie Nosferatu is not for everybody, in terms of its content and its style and things like that. So
Right.
some of them are and Anora. I haven't seen Anora yet, but I know that's people kind of love or hate that movie. It's about a very controversial topic.
Yep.
So, so things like that obviously we still have to watch before the Academy Awards. So, okay, well, let's go ahead and get into Nosferatu here. Did you want to go over your Golden Globes best and worst dressed?
I mean, if I may, I'll just mention because I did look at I always look. But the ones that stood out to me, Mindy Kaling she looked like a walking Golden Globe, but she looked stunning. It was Ashy Studio, I guess is who designed it.
Okay.
Io Adebri, I don't love her character. I actually hate her character on no, I hate her character. Like when
I know
she
you do
comes
not like
on
her character on The Bear.
when she comes on screen on The Bear, I get like angry. I don't know. I can't explain it, but I don't hate her. I don't, it's a me problem, not a her problem. But she was wearing Loewe. It's the hardest designer to ever say it in Spanish. Loewe
Okay.
is how you say it because the W, it's like a B-ish sound. Anyway, it doesn't matter. She looked phenomenal. It was like a menswear inspired look, based on something that Julia Roberts wore back in the day, which was cool. And then the other one I loved Emma Stone. Actually looked beautiful. She has a pixie cut now. I am over Emma Stone winning everything. Like I'm over her being in Yorgos movies. I'm over her winning everything, but that's fine. She looked stunning though. She was in Louis Vuitton. And then lastly, Zoe Saldana. She was wearing black sequins. She was wearing I think it was it Louis Vuitton? I wrote it down. Sorry. Saint Laurent. Oh my gosh, Saint Laurent. Hello. I love YSL. She looked stunning, but normally I wouldn't think like, oh, black sequins on the red carpet. It looked so freaking good. So they were my favorites, those
Okay.
four. My Lisa, Jeremy Strong, I already mentioned. Ali Wong, she was wearing red, which is one of my favorite colors, and she looks great in red, but the dress was a disaster. And
Okay.
then actually, this was on a lot of people's worst dress list. This wasn't just me. Because at first I thought, is it my eyes? Like, is there something wrong with me? No. Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande. Yikes. Cynthia Erivo looked sick. Like, I was actually very worried about her. And I'm not trying to comment on people's weight as a like, damned if you do, damned if you don't, but she looked unhealthy skinny. And the dress was just kind of too much. It was too dramatic. It was trying to do too many things. And
And also,
Ariana
like, I'm
Grande,
looking at a
yeah,
picture of it right now, the two of
yeah,
them.
yeah,
Her Cynthia's dress looks very like summery, which is kind of weird for the
yeah,
golden. It's like very flowy.
yes,
It just does. It's a weird fit for the Golden Globes, I
yep,
think. So
agreed.
yeah.
And then Ariana, I think she was trying to be, because obviously I am an Audrey Hepburn stan. She, I think, was trying to look like Audrey because Audrey wore something very similar. The colors looked terrible on Ariana Grande, and she looked pregnant. And I know this just from when I was pregnant. I was so worried about leading up to pregnancy and being pregnant and all that. You always worry like, do I look pregnant when you're not pregnant? Do I look too pregnant when I am pregnant? It's a problem. But I don't think she wants to look pregnant, and that dress made her look pregnant. And the colors were terrible, and her hair. I mean, the movie's over, so I kind of wish she would do something. The hair color to me is not good with her complexion, but maybe it's a me problem. But these are my
It's
opinions.
it seems like it's like the hair, her skin tone, and the dress are all like the same color.
It's too
It's just
much.
kind of like melds into one.
Yes.
So yeah, very interesting there. But there's you obviously had detailed thoughts on the best and worst dressed. I just had a very quick look at the pictures. I did see Emma Stone's pixie cut. Yeah, I think it worked well with
It
the
looks
outfit. So yeah.
she can make it work. I just don't I'm and I don't hate Emma. I support Emma, but I get tired. I'm definitely tired of the Yorgos movies, and I'm definitely tired of her only being in Yorgos movies, and they're all praised for their artsiness. It's just I'm over it. Okay.
Oh yes, yes, for sure.
Thank
I don't know
God
what
we
her
don't have one this year. Not for the Oscars.
no.
We get a year
And
off.
I don't know what she's going to be in next. Some movie called
Uh,
Begonia. She's doing
it's with
Cruella
him.
too. Okay. Oh, it's another
Begonia is
Yorgos
another
movie. Okay.
Yorgos film. That's why she cut her hair.
Oh my
Yep.
gosh. Okay.
Yep. I think I
Coming
know
out
too
next
much. Why
year.
do I know
Okay.
too? I know too much about these things.
Yeah, she might need to calm down on the Yorgos movies. So,
Yeah.
okay, let's go ahead and talk about Nosferatu. Here we obviously had a lot of news to get to. This was released
Yes.
on Christmas, rated R for graphic nudity, bloody violent content, and some sexual content. 2 hours, 13 minutes. IMDb is a 7.7. Rotten Tomatoes, critics 85%, audience 74%. So both liking this movie. This definitely is a movie, though,
Yes.
that skews more critic based, I would say. box office wise, it's been doing pretty well for a movie of this type. Domestically, 70
Hmm.
million, worldwide over 100 million, 101 million so far. A synopsis is a gothic tale of obsession between a haunted young woman and a terrifying vampire infatuated with her, causing untold horror in its wake. Lily-Rose Depp plays the main character of the film, Ellen, and then Bill Skarsgard plays Count Orlok, Nosferatu, obviously. So we'll talk about both of them a little bit more in depth. This movie is directed by Robert Eggers, who has a very particular style in terms of the movies that he's done. You may know him for The Lighthouse, with the movie with Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe, The Witch, The Northman, which I really liked that one. I think that was in my top 10, whatever year that came out.
Yep, me
So,
too.
and then he's known for historical accuracy, and he does not desire to do anything modern. He wants to do older stories and smaller scale type things. I would say this and the Northman are probably pretty big scale. This is a pretty big scale movie too, in terms of
Yeah.
sets and acting and things like that. Whereas the Lighthouse is more of a more contained.
Hmm.
And I haven't seen The Witch, but I don't think that's like a huge movie in terms of sets and things like that. So
Right. I watched some. I feel bad. I can't remember. I can't recall. It was kind of random that I watched this. I think it was actually on like not Good Morning America or maybe CBS Good Morning something. But it was an interview with Robert, and he was talking. He specifically was like, "I'm not going to do a modern movie. I have no interest in that." So he's not going to do like superhero movies, anything like that. And he likes old timey things, for lack of a better term, and he wants things to be historically accurate. So this kind of like an older movie, Victorian times, is kind of his meat and potatoes.
So we'll take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll talk about the cast for this one and our likes and dislikes for Nosferatu. And we're back talking about Nosferatu. This movie has a pretty small cast. We're just following a couple of characters. The first of those is Lily-Rose Depp, who plays Ellen.
Thank you, Jared. Yes, Lily-Rose. If you're like Depp, that last name sounds familiar and famous. You would be correct. She is, of course, Johnny Depp's daughter, and Vanessa Paradis, who is famous in her own right. She is a French and American actress, best known for The King, Tusk, and I called it, abysmal TV series, The Idol. I didn't even see it, but I just remember the uproar when that show came
Just,
out. It was her
I
in The
didn't either.
Weekend. Oh my gosh.
I remember
Um,
reading about it a lot.
Yes, and didn't they? I don't even know if they canceled it. If no, I don't know if they did. They finish the show, or did they
I
just
don't
like cut it?
know.
I don't remember. I just remember that show got ripped apart. But she's redeemed herself. Next up, she will star in The Governesses. And then fun facts, just because I feel like we don't hear about Lily-Rose a lot. This is the biggest thing I've seen her in. She has dual citizenship in North America and France, and she is fluent in both French and English. She was actually
Hmm.
born in France because Vanessa, her mom, is French. Next up, we have Nicholas Hoult. He plays Thomas Hutter. They are married in the film. He's an English actor best known for About a Boy with Hugh Grant when he was very little, Mad Max Fury Road, Warm Bodies, The Menu, and X-Men Days of Future Past. Next up, you can see him in The One. And then very exciting, I think they just wrapped it because he was talking about it in an interview, but he's going to portray Lex Luthor in the new Superman.
Yeah, I'm interested to see that. I saw the trailer just came out the other day.
Yes.
It looks pretty good from the trailer. Obviously, it's just a trailer, but it seems like it might be decent. So
I haven't seen the trailer. I'm gonna have to look for that actually.
yeah, it just came
Um,
out like last week, I think. It's been pretty recently. So
okay, and we saw the menu. Now, I did not like his character in the menu, but Jared and I did cover that on the podcast. If you're interested, we both liked it pretty well. It was
hmm
episode 170 on the podcast. If you want to go back and listen. Lastly, we have Bill Skarsgard. He was Count Orlok or Nosferatu, as Jared mentioned. He is a Swedish actor best known for It Chapter 2, The Crow, and Barbarian. And by the way, those are and It Chapter 2 are the modern ones, like the ones just a couple years ago, and the remake of The Crow, it's not the one back in the day with Brandon Lee. He has 5 upcoming projects. Some of them include Dead Man's Wire, Lords of War, and Locked. And then this movie has a wonderful supporting cast. I had a hard time kind of figuring out who should be our leads, but those seemed like the natural 3. But this movie is also starring Aaron Taylor Johnson, Willem Dafoe, Emma Corrin, Ralph Ineson, and Simon McBurney.
Shout out to Aaron Taylor Johnson for doing something a little different. So,
Yes, that is exactly that is totally a positive. Thank you for
mhm.
mentioning that. That can be our top, that can be our first positive. Agreed.
Yeah, I always like when actors go out of their range a little bit, do something that you don't see them in a ton. Aaron Taylor Johnson, obviously, kind of been like an action star the past couple of years.
Yes.
Um, and he was in The Fall Guy, right? He was in that with
Oh, yes, he
he
was in The
was
Fall Guy and he was also in Bullet Train, which you and I both liked.
yeah, yep, yeah. So he's
Um
done a couple action movies recently, but this is obviously more of a dramatic role, and I thought he was good as the
I did too, and I like him. The more I watch him in movies, the more I like him, and the more attractive I find him. It's not like he's not an attractive person, but he's starting to stand out to me a lot more. It's been a slow burn between me and Aaron.
So for this movie, this is obviously a remake, a retelling of a very famous story. So it's like, what can you do to kind of put your own spin on it, if you will, if you're Robert Eggers? And obviously, the difference with this one is this is, a silent film originally, and obviously this film has dialogue, and music and things like that. So they've updated it a little bit, and while still keeping, I think, the core elements of the story intact and not diverting from what the actual story of that book is and of Dracula. So
Yes, totally agree. I think that a lot of times I harp on I hate that they're remaking a film or why would they remake something? I think in this instance specifically, this is a really good time and way to remake something because it was originally introduced as a silent film. I haven't seen it and I love movies and old movies and I haven't watched the silent film. And I also think those can be entertaining, but I have only watched a couple, like a handful of silent films. I think they're a lot harder to watch, especially if you have only lived during the talkie age. So I think it was great to introduce this. I think it's a good time to reintroduce it. I did think Christmas was a bizarre release date. But I also understand that's a good time as far as wanting to get an award season. And also, it does seem to take place. There was mentions of like Christmas and around Christmas time, so it's not that weird. But I did think originally I was like, what a bizarre release date. But again, I'm glad. I think this was a good time. I would support this remake, which is very rare.
yeah, I was also confused by the release date at first, but then when you watch the movie, it's taking place during winter,
Yeah,
so it kind of makes sense. But you also got to think, like, if you would release this around Halloween, would that give you some more buzz, box office things? Obviously, they put it where they did. They figured that was the best place to put it, and with all the other stuff out at Christmas, this definitely kind of stood alone as like the adult movie, whereas you
yeah,
have, a Complete Unknown. Mufasa's obviously a kids movie. Sonic was out. Moana, so they were kind of trying to position it, I think, as like, hey, if you're an adult and you want to go with other adults, this might be the movie to go check out.
right,
So,
right.
another like for this movie is the music. Obviously, very creepy, very terrifying, sets the mood very well. Really adds to the atmosphere for sure. And they don't use music throughout the entire movie, but when they do, especially when somebody is about to encounter Orlok, it definitely raises the tension.
Yes, I thought the music was so good, and I cannot for the life of me. There is something I watch now. It's either I think it's a TV show where when you hear the music, like you hear the like chanting or the like opera singing, you just know something terrible is about to happen. Why can I not think of what it is? Um, but it reminded me so much of that. And I thought it really helped set the mood, I guess, for the film. And it was the same with the trailer. Like the trailer was also spooky. And so when the film started and they were playing that kind of general music with kind of like the operatic stuff, it was very spooky right at the beginning.
Yeah, the music for this was done by Robin Carolan,
Hmm.
Carolan.
Okay.
Don't know, haven't heard of him too much in terms of other compositions. But apparently he's been like a music producer for a while.
I just realized what it was. This is now going to just sound ridiculous. I don't know. No, for like for over a week, I've been thinking like, where have I heard a joke about this chanting and stuff? It is the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. So although that show, that's all funny. There is a guy I listen to, Danny Pellegrino. I absolutely love his podcast. That should be a recommend for me. Um, and he recaps episodes, and he was talking recently about how when you hear this chanting, because it's about like Mormons and things like that, so whenever you hear this chanting, you know something serious is about to happen in the show, which is true, or something dramatic. And that's what it reminded me of. It was because it has like a very similar tone. So although one is kind of a joke, and this movie obviously nothing was funny about it, but that was what I was thinking about. Isn't that so
Huh.
strange? I can't believe it.
That is
I'm glad
random.
it popped up in my head now rather than later. Yeah.
So another like for this movie is obviously just the whole production design element of it, and this is where I could see it getting nominated for an Academy Award
Yep.
possibly. I don't think it'll get nominated in Best Picture, but I think it could get nominated for sure in production design, and things of that nature, because it really does look very of that time, with the costumes, with the sets. It has a whole vibe about it. It's very
Yes.
well done, and obviously Robert Eggers, that's kind of what he does, is he kind of creates these worlds that are very detailed, and that's kind of the case
Hmm.
here too. So
This is for sure the three things I have left for positives are I felt very strongly about. So this one I will definitely say for me, this film is technically beautiful. I left even if this isn't your cup of tea, even if there's things you don't like about it, it is so technically stunning. The sets were amazing, costumes, makeup, like the design of Orlok himself. It was a beautiful film, and then the whole tone and mood of the film really fit together seamlessly. So he should really be celebrated for that.
Another thing that I really liked is I really liked the back half of the movie. I think I liked it more than the front half. I really
Hmm.
liked when Orlok was talking to Ellen and was like, "Hey, I'm going to come over the next 3 nights, and obviously somebody close to you is going to die every night
Oh,
until you like sacrifice yourself to me, basically." But that was an interesting storyline. And then also, I really liked Willem Dafoe in the back half of the movie,
yeah,
kind of explaining to us as the audience the backstory of Orlok and like why he is the way that he is, and certain things. He was kind of that character that movies will use to portray things to the other members of the movie, but also as
right.
portraying things to the audience as well.
Yep.
I thought he fit well in this movie as a supporting role, which sometimes he doesn't always. Sometimes he's just doing his weird thing and it doesn't really work. But
Yeah.
in a movie like this, I think it worked well for his character, and he was kind of like
Agreed.
the expert on Nosferatu. So,
Yes, I'm so with you. I think Willem Dafoe in real life is probably really nice, but he is such a strange person. And like he's so good at being strange. And a lot of times I'm like, is he even acting? Because he just seems like he probably is strange. But I really liked his character. I agree with you. He aided the story so much. And I'm with you too. Sometimes he's just too strange in a film where I don't really get it. And he was great in this. And I wondered when he was going to show up because we certainly knew he was going to be in this
mhm.
film, but it was over an hour before we saw
Yeah,
him.
yep.
Yeah.
But then he's pretty prominent in the back half though.
Yes. And
So
then another thing I had talked about Orlok when I was talking about the film being beautiful, but I thought the design, this was another thing Dad and I completely agreed on. Was it was an impressive design for Orlok. Like you see him obviously as Nosferatu, you see him in different lights. You see him sometimes when he's like dressed, and then you see him eventually when he's naked, and the design was so creepy and very creative. And I thought they did a good job. He looked alive but dead at the same time. Like he looked alive but decomposed. That's what I should say. Very spooky design. But again, the makeup and everything was impressive. And also Bill Skarsgård, there should be a shout out for him because he changed so much about his voice. It didn't sound like him. I couldn't tell it was him at all.
mm-mm.
I knew it was only because people said that's who he was playing, but I could not tell in any way, shape, or form that that was Bill Skarsgård.
Yeah, he said that it took about 6 hours a day to get that makeup
Yes.
applied, and then he actually worked with a opera singer to like lower the
Yes.
range of his voice. So it's kind of
I saw
interesting.
that.
So, did
Yeah.
you see all the weird casting stuff about this movie too? Like who was initially supposed to be in it, and
I
this was
heard
going to be
some of
like
it.
completely different
Yeah, I
almost.
heard
So,
some of it. I heard him talking about how much he advocated to be Orlok. Like he came back
mhm.
to Robert and was like, I want to be Orlok, and like campaigned for himself. But I can't remember any of the other people that were meant to
So
be in it.
originally, Anya Taylor Joy was supposed to be in the
No,
Lily-Rose Depp
absolutely
role.
not. I
I
love Lily Rose in this role.
And then it was supposed to be, for a time, Harry Styles was attached to play the role of Thomas in the movie. And
Mhm.
then for Orlok, Eggers apparently was thinking about Daniel Day-Lewis and Mads Mikkelsen, and even Willem Dafoe was like originally attached to that part
No.
of the movie. So I think it works much better with Skarsgård. That's kind of what he does.
Absolutely.
So yeah,
Absolutely.
I just
Wow,
don't think
what
it
a
would be as
strange, what a hodgepodge of
yeah, and
people.
just think of Willem Dafoe in that role. He's not like a tall, menacing figure, whereas Skarsgård definitely is. I just feel like that
Yeah.
would not be as creepy at all. So
Also, PS, I do not think it's believable that someone would pick a vampire over Harry Styles. Are you kidding me? That's like when they tried to make him ugly at the end of Don't Worry Darling. Or
yeah,
is that what it was?
yeah,
Don't Worry
that's
Darling?
what it
No.
was. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Like they couldn't make him ugly. They tried to put pockmarks on his face and stuff and I was like this isn't working. He's still hot. He's too hot. He can't be tamed, people.
Another really quick thing that I liked is I really liked the sequence of Thomas meeting Orlok for the first time when he has to go to his mansion.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
just thought that
Yeah.
was very creepy, very well done. Both actors doing a really good job there. Obviously, a lot of uneasiness in terms of his character, but also what the audience is feeling too in terms of what's going to happen. So, and then Orlok is like, hey, we're going to be neighbors now. I
Right.
signed my, deed and awesome. So, I just thought that was really well done. And then we already talked about that the acting,
Yeah.
and how everybody did a really good job. So,
Well, and my last thing about the acting, my last note that I don't say about most movies, I didn't think there was anybody who stood out more than anybody else. And I think that's a
hmm
testament to great casting choices and people having good chemistry. Like, I don't think anybody was far superior than anybody else. And I don't think there was anybody who gave a poor performance. And that is so rare. I can't remember the last time I really felt that way about everyone in the main cast.
So let's move on to dislikes now. And obviously, one dislike for this film is, this is a story, like we talked about in positives, this is a story that is being retold, but it's also a story that has been around for so many years that you kind of know what you're going to get when you go to the movie. So it's not really doing a ton of stuff that's original. So it may not be the movie for you if you are looking for an original story or looking for something uniquely different, because this is kind of just like a retelling of a classic story.
Mhm. Mhm. I agree with you. And it's not I'm trying to think of the best way to say this. I don't know that it's fair per se to judge like a score or something on this, but I think if this isn't I like to go to a movie and feel kind of changed by it, or I like to leave and think about it for days after. And this is one that I thought about it for all of 5-10 minutes when I got in the car, and drove home and stuff. But other than that, I didn't really think about it. I didn't think about it when I was falling asleep. I didn't think about it the next day and go, oh, that movie was really good. It just kind of came and went. So it didn't leave a lasting impression. I love dissecting it like this. It's reminding me of all the things I really liked about it. But for me, I want a movie to kind of change me or leave a lasting impression, and this one
hmm
just didn't.
Yeah, I thought to myself, "Oh, that was really well done, really interesting, great
Yeah.
acting." Like we said, but did it make me think a ton? Not really, because I knew it
No.
wasn't. It's not a true story. It's never something that would happen in real life.
Right.
So
Right.
you've got that kind of going. And then another dislike for this is obviously there's like this air of sensuality and sexuality throughout the course of the film. It seems like Ellen's character may actually enjoy being infiltrated by Orlok and, him possessing her body. So that's kind of like a thing that you've got going on throughout the course of the movie. But there is some like graphic sex in this movie a couple of different times with obviously a vampire and a human. So,
Yes. And okay, so that's what specifically because I didn't want to seem like a prude, which I don't need to worry about that,
mhm,
but I knew this was going to have graphic nudity and graphic sex, and that goes with this story. When you have a vampire, sex is involved. That's like always a part of it. But I thought that there were two that stood out to me like explicitly graphic sex scenes, and it didn't bother me that there was one, but I don't think we needed to. And I felt like that pushed it where I was like, this isn't even progressing the story. You're just doing this to be like, look, sexy stuff's happening.
Yeah, I think we just needed the one at the end.
That's what I thought. That's exactly what I thought.
When they finally meet and they, and she sacrifices herself basically,
Yeah.
so everybody else can be saved. I thought to myself while that was happening, this one is necessary. This is, a part of the story. But some of the other ones in the movie that were just for like almost shock value at times, I was kind of like, I don't really need this.
Exact same. I am totally with you. Thank you.
So let's go ahead and give our scores for Nosferatu. I'm not sure who's supposed to go first. So.
I don't remember either. I kind of think it's you.
Okay.
But I was looking. I was trying to look. I think I have my score.
Okay.
But I want to check where I was ranking something else because I'm like, oh, am I already regretting some of my choices this year where I put them? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep. Well, I think for me, this would be, I did really enjoy this movie. I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was well paced and, I enjoyed my time with it. Now, is it a highly rewatchable movie? I don't think so. It's not one that I'm going to be like popping on every 3 months and, loading up here to check out Nosferatu. But I did really like it. I think we can give this a 83 out of 100. Pretty high.
Wow. Okay.
What are you gonna rate it? You going lower?
Yeah, but now I'm like, oh, I just wanted to check my Letterboxd and now I can't. I'm gonna go higher. I'm not going higher than that.
Okay.
But I am gonna go higher. Okay. You know what? I'm gonna give this a 77.
Okay.
The reason I was debating this is I like the story of maybe I should go higher. You know what? Who cares? I should just calm down. Everything. Well, we just did Gladiator 2. And that is so a type of movie that I like and I enjoyed it. There were definitely things I didn't like about it. And so I'm kind of like, am I being too harsh on Nosferatu? But as far as rewatchability and stuff, it's not going to do that for me. The graphic stuff like bothered me, kind of took me out of the film. So I think 77 is fair. Let's just stick with that. Good for me. And I'm so sorry. You said 78?
I said 83. Yeah.
Got it.
Yep. I was a little higher than you, so yeah.
That is fine, and that makes sense. So great.
I don't know if it'll be in my top 10 of the year. I feel like it'll be close, though. If it's not in the top 10, it would be like in the top 15. So
I definitely think it's going to be in my top 10, but I told Jared earlier I have not watched a lot of movies this year, so I don't know if that's really going to say much. But we'll see.
You've got this and Wicked, that's what you're ranking. So, and Gladiator. So, thanks so much for listening to this episode. Be sure to follow us on social media at Podcast Silver on Instagram. You can search the Silver Screen Podcast on Facebook and find us there. On our next episode, we will be talking about the Bob Dylan biopic, A Complete Unknown, starring Timothée Chalamet in the lead role.
One of my favorite people. I can't wait. Until next time, we'd like to thank the Academy.